All right, 1 2 1 2 in the place to be. What's up, everybody? I am Frank Red, and this is another edition of the In the Dungeon Show coming to you live and direct in your ear. All right, we'll be with you for the next hour to 90 minutes. And off the top, I want to thank you for joining me. We got a lot to talk about. We're certainly going to hit on the 49ers getting their butts kicked in Buffalo 35-10. And it really wasn't that close, to be quite honest with you. They were down 21-3 at halftime. They had a little buzz starting at the third quarter. Great kickoff return by Deebo Samuels. Got down to the goal line, and Kyle Juszczyk, usually pretty sure-handed, he fumbles close to the goal line, and any hopes of the 49ers making a game of it was thrashed at that point because they never quite got close enough to make it a ball game. They did make it 28-10 at one point. But if you watch the two teams, the Buffalo Bills and the 49ers play, it's not easy to figure out who the best team was. This team is now 5-7. They got 5 games left. Some are tough, some are not so tough. I've been saying all season that the one thing that the 49ers had in their back pocket was they are in a weak division. And, I don't want to talk about tiebreakers and all of that stuff. Just win ball games. I think to expect them to go 5-0 is not realistic. However, I think they can go 4-1. Some people might listen to the program and say, Red, they can't win another game. This team sucks. They played horribly. But sometimes you can't you can't even chew gum. Forget about catching a football in snowy conditions. You can't even chew gum. I've been in that situation not many times as a player, a couple of times as a coach, and it's debilitating. It really is. It doesn't feel good. But because these guys are professionals, listen to Kyle Shanahan in the press conference, they're all pissed off. I don't think that professional athletes give up. I just don't believe that. It takes too much effort. It's too gut-wrenching to get to that level. You can have moments of despair, and I think that they had that tonight. But the 49ers play Chicago at home the next game. And yeah, they have a lot of injuries. But I want to see who's going to show up. I mean, you got a 49er uniform on. I expect you to come out and play with effort. Schematically, I don't think it's all on the players. They need to take a look at the film to see what they can do to protect these guys. They got to catch passes. I'm never going to have a quitter's mentality. Never. That's just not who I am. So when I hear fans saying this team sucks, the season's over, you play every game. You play every game. That's how I look at it. So tonight was horrible. They're not in Buffalo's class this year. Buffalo's one of the top 3-4 teams in the NFL. They might have the MVP. Outside of Saquon Barkley and Henry, Josh Allen is the guy. I guess you could throw golf in that conversation a little bit, but Josh Allen to me looks like Superman. He can do things on the football field that no one else can do. A laser arm, 6'5", probably runs around a 4.4. That dude's bad. That's a badass guy right there. So the 49ers were up against it. Brock Purdy, he didn't play great. He didn't play horrible. He's a top 10, top 12 quarterback. When he has all of his weapons around him, a great running game, then, he's pretty decent. But he's not a superstar. We know what the superstars look like. The Burrows of the world, the Allens of the world, the Mahomes of the world, the Lamar Jacksons of the world. There's about 4 or 5 guys in the NFL that look different. And Josh Allen's one of those guys. So there was a gateway to victory tonight if the 49ers made zero mistakes, but they made a lot of mistakes. And because of that, they could never get on top of Buffalo. So give Buffalo credit. But I don't expect the 49ers to give up. I don't. I expect them to strap it up and give a good, solid effort. I don't believe in throwing the season away. I just don't believe in it. It's too hard of a game to play. So they got to show up. You want to talk about the 49ers? We can do so to take on the Chicago Bears at home on Sunday. Forget about a must-win game. This game is about respectability. This game is about being respectful to your fans, to your owner, to yourself. You're a professional football player. You shouldn't be dropping passes, fumbling, doing things that are not conducive to winning. So we can talk about the 49ers if you want to. There's a lot of stories in the NFL that's interesting that, I wouldn't mind talking about. The reclamation project in Charlotte with Bryce Young. I can talk about Bryce Young every week because talk about being down in the dumps, talking about being ridiculed, talk about being looked upon as a bust. And he goes, no, that's not who I am. And under the strangest conditions, he got an opportunity to get back on the field. And since that point, over the past 4 or 5 weeks, Bryce Young's looked like a promising young quarterback. Another team that some might say, yo, Red, you biased? I am a little biased. I do root for Mike Tomlin. I do. Because I've never heard a player say that they didn't like playing for Mike Tomlin. I've never heard that. And Pittsburgh is what? What are they? 9-3? The irony is, I expect Pittsburgh to win a couple of playoff games. But will they win a Super Bowl? I don't know. If they don't win a Super Bowl, will it be a disappointing year? Not to me. I'm not a diehard Pittsburgh Steelers fan. I like the team. But there are some formidable teams out there that they got to beat to get to the Super Bowl. But I can still admire the great season that they're having. Russell Wilson. If you listen to commentators, professional commentators, talk about him last year like he was garbage, like he was just a system quarterback. Oh, well, Seattle built everything around him. That's why he's not playing well. No, dude is showing everybody that he can still play quarterback in the NFL at a high level in a system that's conducive to his talent. Strong defense, strong running game, commitment to running game, and an offensive coordinator that understands how to utilize his talent. Arthur Smith has done a phenomenal job with Russell Wilson this year. Conversely, the Cincinnati Bengals, wow. You hear 49er fans and they're like ready to burn the building down. What do you think they're doing in Cincinnati? Joe Burrow, statistically, at the end of the year, might have the best stats of any quarterback in the NFL. They're 4-8. They're not making the playoffs. They're done. Lamar Chase is like, I don't know. I'm just here to try to have more memories with my guys. They don't really want to play after a loss like they suffered today at home against the Steelers. Will they strap it up and go out there next week and play? Yeah, they will. And probably play pretty well. So they're going to probably beat some teams that have more to play for this season because they're so talented. They just find a way to lose games, which is interesting. also want to talk about the Golden State Warriors or the NBA at large. The Warriors have lost 4 straight games. They're now 12-6. They got a tough game on Tuesday night against the Denver Nuggets on the road. And 18 games into the season, more than 1/5 of the season has been played. And this team is at a tipping point. They really are. And you go, what do you mean, Red? For the first time, I can look at this team, and I think the players are questioning the coach in terms of how he's orchestrating the team. Fans do that all the time. But when players start to question a little bit of what's going on, then I think you have some potential problems. Now, I don't have any proof of this. I'm just watching the body language. You know? I think guys need to play more. This idea that you're going to play 12, 13 guys, it's okay to play 12, 13 guys if everybody's playing well. But when guys are not playing well, they should not be playing. The rules based on who plays and who doesn't play appears to be a little inconsistent. As a player, that's the one thing that you can get upset about. You cannot like your coach, you can love your coach, but when you think that you should be playing and you're not playing, that's hard to deal with. Because within a team game, you got individuals who are still trying to find ways to fulfill their own agendas. You know, when you pay guys, it's a little more tolerable. Like, I don't think you're going to hear anything from Moses Moody. He wants to play. He gets a quick hook most of the time. But the Warriors just gave him $40 million. So he's going to be respectful. But when he sees other guys out on the court that regardless of how they're playing, they never come out or they get their minutes, that's disturbing. You don't have to be a genius to kind of figure this stuff out. There's certain guys on the Warriors that have a longer rope than others. That's frustrating. Glendocious says, it's wild. Pat Spencer is playing more than Moody. Kerr really can't develop young talent. Mark Jackson did it for him the first time. Now it's up to him, and he's failing completely. You know, Glendocious, that's a great point. As I was thinking about tonight's show and kind of preparing last night, getting pissed watching the team play, I said to myself, I'm never going to move off the fact that I think Kerr is a very good coach. Some might even say an excellent coach. What he has not done in 11 years is develop a player that was drafted by the Warriors. Not counting Jordan Poole. Jordan Poole got traded. He's not here. Kevon Looney has had a phenomenal career, but he's basically a role player. That's what he is. This Kerr regime has not developed any players. The best players on the team during that tenure are 2 players that were there before he even got there. And you can throw Klay Thompson in that. Why is that? I think partly it's because of the coach-player relationship. No one's saying that Kerr can't build a system call plays, develop a structure, an organizational culture that is conducive to winning. No one is saying that because he can do that. But developing individual players, that's something that you got to seriously look at. We're talking about lottery picks. Jonathan Kuminga looks like a second-year player right now. They traded Wiseman and got GP2 back, a player they could have signed from the start. Think about that. They could have signed GP2 to a free agent contract and kept him. Now, maybe financially that would have been horrible. I don't know the machinations of that, but they could have kept him. They let Portland sign him and then got him back in a three-way by trading Wiseman. It's kind of been, it's not good. Now, did they earn the 2 championships that they won with KD? Yeah, they did. But KD is a balance shifter. How many teams could Kevin Durant have gone to and pushed the team that he was on over the edge? I believe had Kevin Durant stayed in OKC, they would have won a chip the next year. They were up 3-1 on the Warriors. And then Game 6 Clay happened. Think about that. They were up 3-1. It's Kevin Durant, one of the top 10 players, top 10, 20 players in the history of basketball. Put that guy on a team that's already won a championship a year or two before. My man Keys says, Debo, Juice, and Purdy fumbled for us. Our captains are not delivering, plain and simple. I like Warner's heart playing on a fractured ankle, but it's over. We need you next year. Get fully healthy. That's a great take, Keys. I was actually just on the Crew post-game show. And that question was raised. Is it time to sit Warner down and let him heal, or leave it up to him because he'll gut it out? This is one of those NFL film type players that will play until he can't walk anymore. That's the type of dedication that he has. But you make a great point. And to me, the best thing the 49ers have done this year is not allow Greenwald to get back on the field. Greenlaw, excuse me. Greenlaw's practicing now. I think he's okay for contact. I would not play that guy this year. And I think there's probably one more game. If the 49ers lose one more game, then Fred Warner's season's going to be over. But you could argue that his season should be over already. I broke my ankle the summer before my freshman year of college. It was a horrible injury. I'm going to tell you how bad it was. I was playing in a summer league. This is like in June. I go up for a rebound, come down on somebody's ankle, and my ankle turned inward. It was like this. It was not even straight. It was like this. The most excruciating pain I've ever felt in my life. And because the human body is so amazing, when your body is injured, your body secretes calcium and it goes to wherever the injury is. And there's this cold feeling that comes over your body. And my ankle was so big, full of calcium to protect it, that it rolled back into place and had a normal posture, but it was like big as a balloon. I should have had ankle surgery and should have redshirted my freshman year, but I didn't want a redshirt. I played that year. So from June, starting practice around 3 months later, I was practicing, limping around. By the time I had the first game, I was playing. But guess what? My point is, my ankle only got back to about 90%. 90, that's it. And I make that point to say that at this stage of Fred Warner's career, if he continues to play on his ankle, it's no way it's ever going to be 100%. I don't believe that. He said that he gets shot up every game, so it's definitely not going to be 100%. So sometimes as an organization, you got to protect players from themselves because he's a warrior, figuratively, in the realm of football and sports. So, but you know, these guys are proud. They play in a weak division. They still think that they can make it. I think George Kittle, after the game, was saying he thinks the 49ers are going to win 5 straight games to make the playoffs. I think they could win 4, maybe 3, 5. I don't see 5 wins. But they're in a weak division. Keith says, I wouldn't play Greenlaw. No need. It's a lost season. Play the youngsters and offer what was that, Greenland and Funger 1-year deals in the offseason. That's pretty sound. I think Hufunga's probably going to come back on a 1-year deal. He's been a loyal 49er, and he's been hurt all year. So I think this is really about evaluation with regards to the 49ers. They need to take a look at their personnel, who's going to be healthy, and they're probably going to come to a fork in the road with some players and realize that they're never going to be the same as they were at their height, and trade them or cut them loose. You know, because this is not a Disney special. This is real. If you have high-paid players who don't live up to their salaries on the football field, then you're going to have a losing organization. So, and you got to draft well. I mean, notwithstanding Ricky Pearsall coming back from a horrific experience being shot, his rookie year, when he's, quote, been healthy, has been kind of average. You know, coming out of college, I like Keon Coleman, the wide receiver out of Florida State, the transfer from Michigan State. He didn't play tonight for Buffalo, but Keon Clark, is it Clark? Keon Clark or Clarence Johnson? Keon Coleman is his name. I thought he would have been great for the 49ers. He went early second round. You know, so Larry talks about all of the missed first round picks that the 49ers have had over the past decade. And he's right. You know, they got to do a better job drafting players. Keith says, I hope McCaffrey doesn't have an Achilles or ACL tear. Is there any news on his injury? Yeah, Shanahan after the game said that he might have a PCL tear in his knee. And if so, that will be season ending. The weird thing is, we didn't see anything from that play that would indicate that there was some type of trauma there. Purdy handed the ball over. He took a couple of steps. and he went down. Now, we've seen that with Achilles. We haven't really seen that with knees unless the knee in some way has been compromised. We didn't see that. We didn't see any twist. We didn't see anything. You know? What was disappointing was that burst that has been missing over the past 3 or 4 weeks. It was there. McCaffrey looked like McCaffrey tonight. And Shanahan did what people have been asking him to do. He actually got Mason into the game early. He comes in and runs for 10 yards right away. I was encouraged by what I saw from McCaffrey those first 3 or 4 runs. I mean, he was hitting those holes like lightning and looking like the player that's been the top running back in the NFL over the past couple of years. And then he gets hurt. Glad to see Bryce Young playing well. Carolina, not a pushover anymore. Yeah, me too, Keys. And I can say, Keys, you know I was right there, right? You know from the start I was like, yo, this dude can ball. Don't give up on him. And I'm happy that I'm right in this particular case because he's such a fun player to watch and a great guy to root for. He really is. And he's making plays. In Carolina, they're 2-2 since he has been reinserted into the starting quarterback position. And they literally could be 4-0. They lost a tough game to KC last week. And in today's game against I forgot who they were playing today. But they were driving late. Oh, they were playing against Tampa Bay. Right. And Hubbard fumbles, gets the ball ripped out, and they ultimately lose that game on a field goal. But Carolina looks exciting right now, and it starts with Bryce Young as a quarterback. I just wish he wasn't playing for that organization. I just, the owner bothers me as an owner, because he wants to run the team like it's a hedge fund. No, this is not a hedge fund. This takes time, patience. The head coach they got from Tampa Bay, he appears to be okay. I didn't like his comments when he benched Bryce Young. Andy Dalton's our starting quarterback going forward. He gives us the best chance to win. Really? Really? That was a sugar high. That's what all that was. That was a sugar high. What should have happened was the offensive line should have been held accountable to block. Because what that did was it got Bryce to the point where, he was starting to get a little jittery. He'd been hit so much. You saw how many times that guy got sacked last year? And to be honest, by him sitting on the bench and watching Andy Dalton play, irregardless of how he got back on the field, the game has slowed down. And he looks similar to the guy that we watched at Alabama. So, I don't think he's going anywhere. I think Carolina's going to ride with him and see what happens. But I didn't like how they treated him early on, although things might work out for him. So. The biggest surprise, though, to me in the NFL this year are the Pittsburgh Steelers. Big Mike Tomlin fan. And I like Russell Wilson. In spite of some of the things that came out of Denver, I like Russell Wilson as a leader and as a quarterback. I'm buying it. So, and I also like the fact that Justin Fields could have pulled a petulant child routine and been pissed off because he lost his starting spot when he was actually doing pretty well. But he hasn't done that. He's been about team. And I think it's because the Pittsburgh culture is so strong, you stick out like a sore thumb if you make it about you. And he hasn't done that. So I want to give him credit for that. I touched on a little bit about the Warriors, but I want to go even deeper on, this Jonathan Kuminga deal. I say play him or trade him. I've never seen an organization tell a player, you're not worth the amount of money that you want. So we're going to tell you no. And then down the road, there's a change of heart, and that player gets the amount of money that he wanted to get in the first place. It generally doesn't work that way. What happens is, once a decision is made organizationally, that player is usually traded. And the reason being is because internally, there's always differences of opinion. And it can cause fractions within the team and within the organization. You couple that with the fact that Kuminga's minutes have been cut. Kuminga was in the starting lineup. The Warriors were winning. Got moved to the bench. Played okay off the bench early. And then remember last week and he was, quote, sick? But there really wasn't, there wasn't a whole lot of information around his illness. Maybe he had a cold. Maybe he wasn't feeling well. Mikal Bridges played in 400 plus games in a row. Why is that? Because he doesn't want to miss any games. You think Mikal Bridges has felt good every game he's played in? No. So when I saw Kuminga was going to be playing for a couple of games, energy games. San Antonio, I forgot the other team that they lost to. That was alarming to me. And the public knows about 5% of what really happens within these organizations. Key says, why is Pods getting 33 minutes and Kuminga and Moody are lucky to get half that? I'm confused about Kerr's rotations. Kuminga's sick of Kerr's silly rotations. I wish it was just the rotations. Being a coach, you're not doing math problems to kind of figure guys out and put them on the court. No, playing certain players is really personal. It's not by mistake who plays. It's personal. It is a personal decision that is made by the coach. I was thinking about this today. Moody, that dude, talk about a quick hook. And Moody knows he's going to come out. So he starts to press sometimes. And he starts to become a one-dimensional player where he starts just shooting. And he's not doing all the other little things. If he knew he was going to play X amount of minutes per game, I think he would kind of modify his game a little bit. And rightfully so. Kuminga and Steve Kerr are not on the same page. We know this. And I don't like the fact that Kerr treats him like he's a rookie or a second-year player. He's too talented. You can't win without him. You can't win without Jonathan Kuminga against good teams. And you can't win with Jonathan Kuminga being defiant on the court. That guy should not be shooting 10 threes in a game. One game, what was he? Against OKC, was he 3 for 10 from three-point range? I'm thinking to myself, if I'm coaching Jonathan Kuminga, I'm like, yo, dude, what I need you to do is I need you to attack the basket. If you're going to shoot 15 times in the game, I want to see you attacking the basket at least 8 of those times. That's your barometer for success. Not you shooting three-pointers. That's not where we are right now. Most players will adhere to that level of coaching if they're on the floor. But if you're not playing them, and they have already determined in your mind that you don't have their best interests, they're not going to listen to you. Particularly when they're 22 years old and they know that they can go somewhere else and play. What it does from an organizational perspective is it devalues the product, the asset. Kuminga's the asset. What are the Warriors going to get for Kuminga? What? DeAndre Hunter? Nice player. But at this point, Atlanta probably doesn't want Kuminga because they got Risha Shea, the number 1 overall pick. You got to give him minutes. They're not trading Jalen Johnson. Those are 2 forwards moving forward. You could probably get Kyle Kuzma. Whoop-de-doo. Come on. You could take Kuminga and DeAnthony Milton's contract, send them to Washington for Kyle Kuzma. If I'm a fan, I'm pissed off by that. Cam Johnson, I think the Warriors probably could have did Kuminga for Cam Johnson maybe in the summer. I don't know if they can even do that now. Cam Johnson's a nice player. Probably fits Kerr's system a little more because he's a fundamentally sound player, perimeter-oriented guy, but he's not a high flyer. Certainly has a ceiling. Doesn't have the upside that Kuminga has. I believe if Jonathan Kuminga was in step with his coach, it would accelerate his growth. I do believe that. Pods has regressed. Moody and Kuminga should start and play 30 minutes plus. Here's the thing. I got to check myself about Pods. Because everybody loves Pods. So if you don't love Pods, you can come off like a hater. And I root for everybody. Well, I'm going to tell you what I don't like about Pods. I'm not used to rookies being as boisterous and as communicative with officials. It bothers me that he talks to officials and gets away with it. It bothers me that he can look at an official and raise his hands and get away with it. Look to the bench and every call he wants them to challenge. I'm like, dude, just play basketball. If you're old enough to watch basketball over a long period, Allen Iverson never got away with that. I'm not saying that he's doing the stuff that Allen Iverson did. Some of the comments. But young players didn't get away with talking to officials. Not in the NBA. You would get teed up in a second. And Pods did get a tee last game, which is like, whoa, that blew my mind. But what it said is, and I actually put this in a tweet. I said, I'm convinced that referees hate Pods I'm convinced. I don't have a major problem with his 31% field goal percentage or his 21% from three. You know, nobody's taking shots and missing them. I have more of a problem with his braggadocious type persona, his attitude, because he's clearly getting a longer leash than other players on his own team. If I notice that, you think they don't notice that? And yet they can't say anything. Now, you could explain this away by saying DeAnthony Milton is not playing. He's the only backup point guard on the Warriors. Curry wants to take the pressure off of Stephen Curry, so he has to put Pods in the game. Okay, that works if you don't know basketball, but I know basketball, so that don't work for me. Why can the New Orleans Pelicans sign Eldridge Payton off the streets, have him come in and literally his second, third game of the year have 22 assists? Dude wasn't even in the NBA. He was on the streets. And the Pelicans signed him because he probably lives in that area. Why can't the Warriors go out and find a backup point guard? You're telling me there's not anybody in the G League who can't push the ball up the court? I don't buy that. I don't buy it. And it's frustrating to me to have that narrative pushed on the public. Everybody in the NBA has to earn their minutes. You know? Do you believe Ohio State should fire Day after losing to Michigan again? No. Michigan lost to Ohio State, I believe, 4 straight years when Urban Meyer was the coach at Ohio State. Now, this is 4 years in a row. If you let Ryan Day know that, listen, dude, we don't care what your record is. If you lose to Michigan next year, we're going to fire you. If it means that much to you and you tell him that and he loses, then okay. He'll get his wheelbarrow full of money and fire him. But I look behind the scenes. I think the guy's name is Gene Smith or George Smith, Ohio State's outgoing athletic director. They're already grooming somebody now to be the AD. And this is how they do it in big time sports. The guy who's going to take over, I can't think of his name now, he didn't hire Ryan Day. So he really has no allegiances to keep him. So he has no problem firing him. That's tough. You know, Michigan, Ohio State, it's one of those jobs that that's the job. That's the assignment. The assignment is you must beat Michigan. You must beat Ohio State. And if you don't do it, you get fired. That's why he makes the money that he makes. I personally would not fire him. I would give him one more year. And if my fan bases and all of the adults in the room that matter wants him fired after next year, then I'll fire him. But no, I wouldn't fire him. I wouldn't. Great win by Michigan. Tremendous win by Michigan. I'm going to say a great season by Michigan. Michigan played their whole season with a walk-on quarterback. with a walk-on quarterback. You know how hard that is in the Big Ten? They got embarrassed by Texas the first game of the year. They wound up going 7-5. I want to see Michigan in a bowl game against Colorado. That'd be fun, right? That'd be fun to watch. High-powered offense, good, sturdy, hard-nosed Big Ten defense. I would love to see that. I've talked 45 minutes. I have not even introduced myself. What's up, everybody? My name is Frank Red. This is the In the Dungeon Show, a show in which we talk about sports and the intersection of music, entertainment to a little, to a small degree. We don't delve into areas that so many other people on the internet like to talk about. But when something is topical, we will talk about it. For example, Kendrick Lamar's brand new album, and I have had the opportunity to listen to it. Solid album. My favorite song on the album is Gloria. Really love that song. I Used to Love Her vibes by Common, which is one of the best hip hop songs ever done. Gloria takes kind of a similar theme, but is brilliantly written and performed by Kendrick Lamar, featuring SZA. That Kendrick Lamar-SZA combination never misses. Love those two together. Another album that I listened to is The Crossroads by Cordae. This is Corday's third album. Cordae, to me, Cordae is the most talented rapper in his age group. I think he's 27. So I'm going to say somewhere between like 23 and 30-ish. I'm going to say Cordae is probably the number one guy to me, the number one artist. Because he's really about the lyrics, he's about the music. You can tell that he listens to music. And he has a great appreciation for the greats. I watched an interview in which he talked about how he told Nas that it was written, his second album was better than Illmatic, which was his first album, which is Nas' first album. By and large, people believe that Illmatic was better, it's more popular, but just to have an opinion that he could elaborate on says a lot about his knowledge as a consumer of hip hop. And I think he's a fantastic artist. I think he has a couple of really good albums in the future that might be legendary. I don't know if any of his albums have been legendary thus far, but they've been really, really good. His current album, The Crossroads, to me is as good as Kendrick's album. Major supporter of Cordae. Keith said, I would love to see Colorado play Ole Miss, two high-powered offenses. You know what? That's an even better suggestion, Keith. I would love to see that. See the kid Hart going up against Shador. That would be awesome. Another thing that I like about Colorado, if you listen to Coach Prime has already put it on blast. He says, none of our players are sitting out. All of our players are playing in the bowl game. I love that. Know why? Because that's saying that, you know what? I'm putting the organization first. I'm putting Colorado first. It's not about me. It's about our team. It's about our university. I love that. I watched a video on Colorado a couple of days ago in which they detailed their Thanksgiving spread. Oh my goodness. This is what Colorado did. I'm sure other teams do this. Colorado not only takes care of their players, they invite the family members too. Everybody eats. You know, it's a real show. And I think what Coach Prime not trying to do, what he has done is he's created a family and a community at Colorado. And Colorado understands the bigger picture. They said, we're going to pay this guy a ton of money, and we're going to treat the players like they deserve to be treated, offering them the best of the best and holding them accountable for their actions. I love that. And the players are living up to it. 9-3. They slipped up a little bit. They didn't win the Big 12, they didn't make it to the Big 12 championship game when they could have, but they're kids. You know, and Coach Prime came out and said, we were feeling ourselves a little bit. That's just the reality of it. It happens. But I have thoroughly enjoyed watching Colorado football this year. I looked at the schedule earlier today. I couldn't believe the regular season's over. I want to touch on the Phoenix Suns. When I watched the Olympics this summer, and I saw how well KD and Devin Booker were playing, they were two of the top five. They were two of the five best players on the Olympic team. Devin Booker was awesome, and KD was awesome. Once they got Tyus Jones as a point guard, I was like, uh-oh. Bradley Beal, we don't know what we're going to get from Bradley Beal. He's probably not going to be healthy. He has a history of injuries. When you watch that team play the Warriors last night, they're better defensively, and they got players who you can't stop. KD at 36 is still that dude. D-Book is a top 5 two guard in the NBA. So, I don't know, man. Phoenix is going to be a problem this year. They really are. If you're the Warriors, you got to be tight in your rotations. That's why I'm interested in seeing what's going to happen on Tuesday night, because playing 12, 13 guys was okay for a minute, but it's not okay now. You know why it's not okay? Because the guys who Kerr is running out there are not playing well. They're not playing well. And, you know, the minutes that are being distributed are not equally distributed. You got certain guys playing more than others, and people scratching their heads saying, why is he playing over me? Why don't I get the same opportunities as this player? But the irony is everybody has their challenges. Everybody was patting J.J. Redick on the back early on. Not anymore. The Lakers look a lot like the Lakers of last year. And superstars, they age and they get older. And they're not as effective. You see LeBron? LeBron is no slouch, and he's going to give you 30 plus maybe once every 5 games. He gets tired. Not the same player. Did you see the write-up today that said that Brandon Ingram is switching his representation to clutch? That came out today. What do you think that means? Doesn't take a brain surgeon to go, The Lakers might have a superstar player who maybe is going to play another year or two. They might need a dominant 6'10" scorer to play next to Anthony Davis. Who was actually drafted by the Lakers, right? Not surprising how this business works. OKC looks good, man. Whew. Foregone conclusion, I'm going to name it right now. Travis Hunter is winning the Heisman Trophy. That guy is so entertaining to watch. Who are the worst teams in the NFL right now? Is it the Panthers? Ooh. The Panthers, the Jets. Oh, New England also. Although New England's a tough out. If you think you're just going to show up and beat New England, good luck with that. Gerard Mayo has done a hell of a job. He's not only been competitive this year, but he's developed the quarterback in May. That's what you got to do. You got to be competitive and develop your players. I'm just trying to figure out where Travis Hunter is going to go. Raiders are going to draft a quarterback, so he's not going there. I think. Maybe Carolina, maybe the Jets, maybe New England. But it's going to be an immediate star. It really is. Also wanted to touch on, feels like a little hate to me. A lot of former NBA players have kind of jumped on this idea that the ratings of the NBA game aren't as high right now as they used to be. And I got some thoughts about that. There's more and more places that you got to go to find NBA games. You know, when we were kids, when we were a lot younger, it was a couple of networks that basically played all the games. It's only going to get worse, the way that they chop up that NBA pie. That's one thing. Well, you need this app to watch this game. You need this, you need that. That doesn't help the game. What it does is puts money in the pockets of owners and theoretically players, but it doesn't help the game. It hurts the game. Secondly, the NBA has built its existence for 30 plus years, since the days of Magic and Bird. That's even longer than that, right? 30 plus years. The NBA game has been built on stars, not juggernaut teams. The NFL builds its reputation on teams. And for a while, they were kind of featuring quarterbacks, particularly during the Manning and Brady era, and Brett Favre to a certain degree. But by and large, the NFL has built this brand on the actual teams. The NBA built this brand on stars. And guess what? There are not as many stars in the game right now. And if they are stars for the best players, which doesn't necessarily mean they're stars, they didn't necessarily grow up in the United States. And I don't think it's any different than any other sports around the country, around the world. Fans love their stars. They love their stars. If I ask you, who's a great American star who plays in the NBA right now? Jason Tatum, not a big personality. Jaylen Brown, people don't think he's marketable. The only person that kind of jumps off the TV screen is Anthony Edwards. And Anthony Edwards has had some things attached to him that might make it difficult to market him. Whether or not it's true or not, I have no idea. But, I mean, when they were marketing Jordan, Kobe, you're talking about until Kobe, had his deal in Colorado. But these stars were pristine in their ability to be marketed. That's not like it isn't. It really isn't that way right now. They don't have a lot of stars in the NBA. What they have are a lot of good players. So what they're doing is they're continually marketing players who've been around for 15 plus years. Stephen Curry and LeBron James, I sound like that little kid, are the two biggest stars in the NBA. You don't want that level of imbalance. You really don't. It's great. But you want the, quote, young bucks to be coming up that you can hit your wagon to. Now, you might say, Red, it doesn't matter if they're not born in the United States. I think it does matter. Clearly, they're going to market the hell out of Victor Wembanyama, but he's from France. Maybe it won't matter. Maybe he's such a generational player that ultimately it won't matter. But I think it does to a certain degree, which is why people are going gaga, crazy over Cooper Flagg, the American-born next great player out of Duke, who's only 17 years old. I think what people are finding out, though, is not that he's not good, because Cooper is really good, and he's going to be the number one pick, but I think people might be putting maybe too much on his shoulders. I watched him play a couple of times now, and he got some things to work on. He really does. He's not the best ball handler. He's kind of predictable in terms of what he wants to do offensively. And his shooting range, to me, is not really conducive to making threes. He needs to change his form, modify his form a little bit. He kind of has a real nice mid-range, but I see some things that he's going to have to work on. It's going to take him a couple of years, like it does generally everybody. But he's definitely box office, but I think that they might be putting a little more pressure on him than he could handle. It's going to take him some years. I don't think he's going to come in the NBA and do what LeBron did. LeBron averaged 20 points a game his rookie year. Cooper Flagg's not averaging 20 points a game next year. No way. Not going to happen. I got a question for you because we've talked about it. Whenever someone, and generally I was on some other shows, and the topic of the 49ers came up, and people were talking about Brock Purdy's value. When Brock Purdy was playing his best, I always said, I thought he was a top 10 quarterback. I thought Brock Purdy was a top 10 quarterback when he had everything around him. Now that that's not the case, you're starting to hear some other conversations around his value. What do you think the 49ers should pay him next year? I would love to see the 49ers maybe rip up the last year of his contract and give him a market rate for quarterbacks next year. Maybe give him $30 million and with crazy incentives to get it up to around 40. And then at that point, make a decision on his long-term value. I don't want to really extend him a contract coming off this season where he's guaranteed $100 million. I don't want to do that. Because he's not Superman. At his best, he's not Superman. He's not a superhero. Josh Allen is a superhero. He can do things that regular humans can't do. And that was on display tonight. Lamar Jackson can do special things. Joe Burrow, I've already seen enough. Joe Burrow, to me, is one of the best. He's one of the top 20 quarterbacks that I've ever seen. I've been watching football for over 30 years. Joe Burrow is that guy. I can't think of 20 quarterbacks in the history of the game that I would say is better than that guy. You're talking about one of the best pocket quarterbacks in the history of the game. Accurate? Oh my God. I didn't even talk about Pat Mahomes. Pat Mahomes can do, he has a combination of it all. Pocket presence, escapability, running aggressively to get things done down the field. He has, and I'm going to say that Pat Mahomes, the intangibles that he has in his game makes him special beyond the others. But in terms of just raw talent, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Pat Mahomes. Those are the four guys that I look to that I think are a cut above. The next level, I'm going to put golf there. The more I watch Jordan Love, the more I go, whoa, that dude's pretty damn good. But how many other players belong in that next tier? Not a lot. Not a lot. Not a lot. Keith says, what's going on with the Knicks, Frank? When I watch them, it seems like Brunson is dribbling too much. Yeah, I mean, they got some chemistry issues. They do. And no matter how much Cat scores, he's never been a great defender in his entire life. Just hasn't. He didn't win a national championship at Kentucky. Which is why, quietly, I think Thibodeau is counting the days to Mitchell Robinson return. Because Mitchell Robinson is going to clean a lot of that interior defense up. I could even see a scenario where Karl Anthony Towns and Mitchell Robinson are on the court at the same time. And that should be interesting with all of the long defenders that they have. I think that Jalen is still trying to find his way playing with Cat, because last year it was really his show. This year, there are moments when he, doesn't necessarily know. But I'll ride with Jalen Brunson. I don't really have a problem with their offense. Their offense is going to be fine. I'm more concerned about their defense. And I think that I'll be able to make a real definitive assessment on what their prospects are when Mitchell Robinson comes back. Good question, though. Purdy is good, not great. I would offer $45 million a year. Whoa. Will you buy me a Christmas present too, Keys? Huh? I would like a high quality guitar. Even though I can't play guitar, but that's on my bucket list to learn how to play guitar. I'm joking, by the way. Nah, he's not making $45 million next year. No way. I think $30 million is more than reasonable. $30 million with some incentives is fair. $45 million coming off this year is egregious. And, you know, the 49ers have been egregious with contract for guys that might be on the tail end of their careers. So they're not going to make that mistake with Purdy. They're just not. You're not going to do it. There's going to be other quarterbacks on the market too. Think about this. Sam Darnold backed up Brock Purdy. Who do you think is a better quarterback right now? Sam Darnold or Brock Purdy? I'm not going to be a prisoner of the moment. I'm not going to do that. And systems do matter. But it's close, right? You see Sam Darnold slinging that thing? Minnesota's what, 10-2? Let's see their record. This is Minnesota's record. Minnesota is 10-2. This quarterback's out there. Justin Fields is going to be out there. Or Russell Wilson is going to be out there. Daniel Jones is going to be out there. The 49ers are not going to pay their quarterback $45 million next year. They can't afford to do it. They're going to have to cut some players that fans like. And rely on good coaching, which has not been the best this year. Price of a good quarterback isn't cheap. No, it's not. You know how much money Sam Darnold makes? Sam Darnold's making $10 million a year this year. $10 million. If you were coaching the Warriors, would Kuminga or Moody be playing over Pods from what you've seen so far? I don't think they all play the same position. This is what I would do with Kuminga. I would have a very clear set of directives for Jonathan Kuminga. And I would even make it public. So it's out there. I would talk publicly about what I wanted to see from him on the court. So there's no mystery. Because it's all this mystery stuff. Oh, I'm working with different combinations and No. I would be very direct. I'm saying, listen, what I want to see from you is I want to see you driving to the basket 50% of the time. I want to, I would design some post-ups for him. I'll make sure he's getting his free throw. I mean, there's no reason for a guy with that kind of talent to shoot 60% from the free throw line. He shot 75 last year. So I would make a decision about Jonathan Kuminga based on how he responded to coaching. But I would give him a shot. Pods, I would just tell Pods, stop talking to referees. I don't want to see you talking to referees. You're not there. Focus on playing the game. And if I saw him talking to referees, I would take him out. Moody would get more time. Moody probably wouldn't. factor in Podge's minutes, but Moody would factor into Lindy Waters' minutes. Lindy Waters is not playing well right now. Why is he playing over Moody? Moody's been here for 4 years. Lindy Waters was driving Uber. Why is he playing over Moody? Schematically, I get it. He's a better catch and shoot player. You know, I think he's decent, but he's not playing well right now. Max says, what's up, Max? Malik Willis for 2 first-round picks sounds good. Oh, man. So you're working out your comedy material on In the Dungeon show, Max? Yeah? When's your next gig? Malik Willis and Christian Watson for 4 first-round picks. Come on, man. That's not going to get you on Jimmy Fallon. Now I actually want to hear a good joke from you. Quiet as kept, Malik Willis has done a hell of a job. And Christian Watson's a real player. Green Bay has done a lot of things right. You know, think about where Jordan Love was 3 years ago compared to where he is now. Jordan Love looks kind of like an all-pro quarterback. I don't get a chance to watch a lot of Green Bay games, but I'm watching more now. This dude can play. Know what Jordan Love is? Jordan Love is what the 49ers thought Trey Lance was. That's who he is. Now, I'm going to say this. Do you think Green Bay could have developed Trey Lance? Did the 49ers screw that up? I'm the last person to blame the players totally when things don't go well. I don't do that. Oh, he sucks. Get rid of him. Nah, man. You got to develop players. Let's talk about the Warriors. You know the difference between the Miami Heat and the Warriors? The Miami Heat develops players. Look how many players the Miami Heat has developed. Do you think that's by mistake? No, it's not by mistake. They know how to develop players. The Warriors know how to develop systems. They got a good system. Do you think if Kevin Durant had went to Miami as opposed to the Warriors, they could not have won a championship? Come on. The Warriors won 4 championships during the Steve Kerr era. 2 of them stand out. The first one and the one that Stephen Curry won in 2022. Those are the championships that I go, wow. Because they took the first championship. You got to give Kerr so much credit for that first one. That was awesome. To implement a whole new system with players who had already gone to the playoffs. But he created a system that was higher than the Jackson offense. And in 2022, when they got Wiggins, Stephen Curry was out of his mind. I still shake my head because if you look at that Boston team, wasn't that different than the team that won the championship last year? When you consider that Porzingis barely played last year. The Warriors beat that team. Key says Green Bay got a good GM. He ran Aaron Rodgers out of town and is always drafting good Niners. Get emotionally attached. Okay. Niners get emotionally attached to players and end up overpaying for them. Well, you can say that now. When you look at Ayuk, Debo, McCaffrey, Bosa, Williams. I mean, it's not totally fair because they're paying these guys when they're at the top tier of their careers. Nobody saw McCaffrey coming this year. There's no reason to think that he was not going to perform like one of the best running backs in the NFL. If he's on your team and he's looking like the guy that we saw in the first quarter of tonight's game, you know what? You're pretty damn good. But they've had a rash of injuries. Bosa, as great as Bosa is, he gets hurt. He does get hurt. And I was listening to Larry actually say, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if the 49ers trade some of their really good players. You know, to lighten the playbook, to lighten the payroll, and to hopefully draft well and open the doors for some of their younger players. You would have to think that Hufanga is going to come back next year and be good. Unless I'm a medical doctor, I got to think he's going to make a nice return. So he's a top-tier safety. Greenlaw's going to come back. He's already practicing. Fred Warner, I don't think Fred Warner is ever going to be the same again. Based on what's happening this year with his ankle. Having experienced a horrible ankle injury, my ankle, maybe 90%, probably in the 80s. And it's still big. It's still abnormally big because of scar tissue around my ankle. Fred Warner says that he gets shot up every game. You know what that does? That affects your nerves. Key says, I don't mind paying, but Niners get a penny on the dollar after 3 guys get paid. Yeah, I mean, you know what? You make that statement and then you look over a 5-year span and you ask yourself, where do the 49ers rank in terms of wins? It's 32 teams in the NFL. The 49ers are one of the winningest organizations in the NFL. They are. Dallas Cowboys won 12 straight games, 3 straight years. Didn't win a Super Bowl. They didn't even make it to a Super Bowl. A couple of teams make it tough on everybody. KC Chiefs they've rigged the system. They really have. So this offseason is going to be interesting. I'm of the mindset that you never give up on the season. I want to see guys out there playing lights out, playing to the end. Now, organizationally, if you have a different plan, I get that. But I don't care if you're first string, second string, third string. I just want to see effort. You watch some of these teams, and these players out there playing like their pants are on fire. It's not by mistake that you have a team like the Chargers, who over the past 5 years have been bumbling around on a football field. All of a sudden, you change the coach and Jim Harbaugh, and all of a sudden, they look like the most disciplined football team in the NFL. Coaching matters. Player accountability matters. I don't care what the sport is. All right. I saw a couple of movies. I'm going to review one. I saw a movie. It's called A Real Pain. And it's about two cousins who happen to be Jewish. And they go through Europe on this tour group trying to make sense of their family's history, while at the same time being self-reflective about where they are at that point in their lives and what their purposes are. Hijinks ensue. It's one of those movies that only a few people can get made. I like movies, so it was decent, but if someone else was like, hey, I want to make a movie about this, it would never get made. So if you are a movie buff and you like movies and that subject matter interests you, then might want to check it out. Now, my review of Gladiator 2, starring Connie Nielsen, Pedro Pascal, Paul Mescal, and Denzel Washington. Okay. On a scale of 1 to 4, if I'm going to give the first Gladiator a 4, which I would, I'm going to give this movie a 3 to a 3.5. Solid movie. They kind of latched on to some of the themes that have been created and that were created in the first movie. They used some CGI effectively, and they came up with a brilliant idea that I won't spill the beans on. Pretty brilliant idea, pretty creative. I'm going to say this. All medieval movies steal and borrow from a Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones is some of the best television ever created. And the Gladiator medieval type movies all steal, all borrow from Game of Thrones. If you have not seen Game of Thrones, the original 7-8 season version, at some point in your life, watch it. It is absolutely brilliant. It was good to see Denzel Washington be a part of an ensemble cast in these types of movies because it looked like he had fun. And Denzel had a major role in Gladiator 2. I thought it was really good. And everybody was solid. Connie Nielsen was in the first Gladiator. She did her thing. Pedro Pascal was excellent. And Paul Mescal was also very good. So, I highly recommend Gladiator 2. If you watched Gladiator 1, then you'll be up to speed right away. And if you haven't, then you might want to watch Gladiator on video. It's playing everywhere. And then go to the movies and watch Gladiator 2. All right. Can you guys believe I've been on air now for an hour and a half? It's amazing how fast this show goes. But yeah, that's what happens when, hopefully, the subject matter is engaging. I've been engaged by you. Hopefully, I put some things out there to help you kind of process what we've gone through over the past week or so in the world of sports. We touched on a little music. Kendrick Lamar's album is solid, but I think Corday's album is just as good. The best album to me of the year is Pete Rock and Common, The Auditorium, Volume 1. It's been nominated for a Grammy. It probably won't win, but I think it should win. All right? The Warriors play the Denver Nuggets on Tuesday night. That should be interesting. See if they make any changes. See if they modify their approach. We'll see. If you have not liked the button, hit the like button already for the show. Please do that. I really appreciate it. And if you are a consistent listener and you know someone who might like the show, tell them to give it a listen. Check it out. Once again, my name is Frank Red. I'm going to do my thing and I'm going to get out of here. Success in getting paid is a manifestation of the whole process. If you as an individual don't do things to help other people make their lives better, as far as I'm concerned, you haven't done nothing. All right. Be safe, everybody. Happy holidays. And I'll talk to you maybe throughout the week, but definitely, at 9 o'clock on Sunday nights. You can check out the In the Dungeon show. All right. Good night, everybody. Peace.